All right. And we're here with Adam. Adam, why don't you tell us what you do in your free time and why you do it and why you got into skydiving?
Skydiving. I don't know. I come from like extensive musical background with friends. Obviously, like Josh and all my buddies. I had been in a bunch of bands since I was like 16 or so. Music was a huge part of my life. And then I don't know, like I kept getting in all these bands, and there was never really big ending to any of them, as much as I wanted it to be, like obviously being like a signed band or go on tours and stuff like that, like all the things I wanted to do. And I wouldn't necessarily say I gave up on it, but like I kind of wanted to just try something new,
something on your own. Yeah,
something that was just like different, something I can control, something that was not really leaving in the hands of others, I guess. And I actually had started going skydiving. My first skydive was when I was 18, back in like 2010 or so, and I did another one when I was 21. And I kind of just wanted to get back into that and see if I could, possibly try doing it on my own. So I went out to San Marcos skydiving, and I decided to sign up for a class one day. And I was like, I want to see if, how to do this, how does it work? And basically I get there and you have to take like a 7-8 hour course called AFF, accelerated free fall, basically. And I went through the class, learned a bunch, found out it's actually really, really safe from what people have heard, actually. Yeah, there's a lot of things that...
What are some of the myths or misnomers that people get afraid of with skydiving?
Yeah, well, they always assume that you're basically, you have one parachute and that's it. But actually, when you're skydiving, your rig has two parachutes. It has your main, which you use on the regular, on the daily, and then you have a reserve parachute, which gets packed by a certified rigger, and that's kind of like your backup plan just in case anything goes wrong. And if you can literally go on a jump, you can go skydive and not pull anything at all, and the reserve will fire after hitting 800 feet without pulling anything. With the acceleration, it's gonna like fire, be like, hey, this guy's knocked out, so it's gonna throw it open for you. So you can literally technically go on a skydive, not do anything, and you're still gonna live. And you might have like a couple broken bones if you passed out, but you're not gonna die.
Have you tested the reserve chute?
I have not tested that reserve chute. I really don't want to. You never want
What?
to.
No plans for it?
Nope, not at all. Just pull on time.
So, what was the process like when you said it took you about 6 months, but in reality it took you about a year? You want to go in a little bit more depth about that?
Yeah. Am I speaking into this right?
Yeah.
Is it good? Cool. A lot of factors come into play when you're starting to skydive. You have to consider, how much it's going to cost. Your first 3 jumps are $275. And then it goes to 170, and then it goes down to like 130 or whatever. Like the further you get in the program, the smaller the price it becomes to go jumping, easier it becomes. But it's distance. I live in San Antonio. San Marcos is not exactly like my backyard, so I got to get there, which is like about an hour and a half or so. Weather holds are a huge part when you're starting to skydive. You get weathered out. Clouds might be too low, or obviously it's too gloomy. Ooh, that sounds good.
I'm working on it.
Yeah. Weather's a huge part. Sometimes I would get there and I would sit for 3-4 hours trying to wait for the clouds to go away, or for them to get a little higher. Money was a huge part. I didn't really exactly have $275 to do each jump the first 3 times. So that, and then, schedule, work, we all have to work. So it was really hard trying to find time on my days off to go out there and, get it done. So it technically took me about, I want to say, honestly, about 2 years to get it. But I didn't start actively getting it until like 6-7 months ago. But yeah.
And you said that since you work at iFly, it eliminated what process of the training or aspect of skydiving on your own?
So there's like two things you have to like really focus on when you're skydiving. One's your free fall portion, which, you know, that's a huge part to do with obviously skydiving, because if your body's in the wrong position and you pull your parachute, you could end up with line twists and all kinds of, you know, malfunctions possibly. So flying your body was a huge part of skydiving, and when I started working at iFly, it eliminated the process just because, like, what I do for a living is kind of weird. You know, I fly in a tunnel all day. I fly people. I fly military, special forces sometimes. A lot of the Army Rangers are out there. A lot of the, you know, Air Force paratroop guys are out there. Jordy. So it's really cool. I get to like practice on my free flying in there a bunch, and you know, basically when I was going through the course through AFF, my instructors weren't really worried about me like you know, doing well on the free fall portion, just because like I work at iFly, and
Yeah.
most of the guys I work at iFly, they all kind of just shred. And
Is it pretty similar iFly and skydiving when you're just in the free fall part?
it's different in the sense that the feeling towards your body is about the same, but the way I can describe real skydiving is it's just not fake wind, it's not artificial, it's not pressurized, it's very loose, it's very, you know, real. So I think indoor skydiving is harder because one, you got glass, you can smack your face, you know, pressured wind has a lot to play with it. But if you can fly in the tunnel with pressurized wind, you can apply everything you've learned in there in the sky, and it works about the same. So the way it works is everyone starts out on their belly flying, level 1, and then you work to level 2, which is flying on your back, and then level 3 is learning how to sit fly, which is a lot of skydivers, they all want to learn how to sit fly, I guess.
And what is sit fly?
You basically you're in a sit position, and it's kind of hard to hold once you're in the sky because you keep corking out and you kind of go into your back a bunch. But I mean, every skydiver who doesn't work for iFly just wants to learn how to sit fly, because that's like the biggest thing you could possibly do next to like flying on your head. But most people don't get to that because you have to either be flying for many years and have thousands of jumps or work at iFly. So yeah, it's weird because like working with iFly for about a year and a half, I barely just got my license maybe, I want to say 2 months ago now, and I have like 38 jumps, which is, it ain't shit. It's not really anything. And you know, I go out jumping with older guys that have, you know, 3,000-4,000 skydives, and I went jumping once I got my license, and I borrowed a buddy's rig, and then I went jumping with like more, you know, seasoned skydivers, and I was already flying on my head with them, and they're still learning how to like sit fly. So it was kind of just like they kind of like hate iFly guys, but they still kind of want to like learn from what we do basically.
That's really interesting that you get special forces and Army Rangers coming over there to train there at iFly. That's, you would think like that maybe they'll have their own facility to do that, but I guess not, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of weird how the government's funding that, but they don't really tell us what they're going on or any of their missions. But basically, they go in there and, you know, we kind of just teach them how to fly and do belly stuff basically. But it's pretty cool because like I'll go out to the drop zone and I'll see the same guys I'm teaching, you know, in the tunnel out there. And at the time, I was still a student, and they were kind of just like looking at me like, "Why are you a student? Like, this should be easy for you." So it just took a long time. But yeah, it's cool like having like military dudes out there. Made some friends in the special forces doing this. It's pretty sweet.
And I see on your Instagram feed sometimes you post videos of, is it you, or is it you and another person that does all those tricks? Like what, or is that some of the tricks that you're describing that you do in the live video? For
the most part, yeah. Like today, I posted a live video of me and like, you know, my lead instructor, because there's always at every iFly there's always a lead instructor who's like the most seasoned. He has like 7-8 years plus on his belt, and he's usually in charge of everybody, teaching them how to fly and stuff and be safe. And it's weird because like working for iFly, it's not so much about how good you are at flying, it's like how safe you can be with other people, because people are really going in there with like 120 mile per hour winds. You have to be able to like make sure no one eats shit or doesn't break anything.
Yeah, it's kind of like scuba diving. When I went on a scuba diving adventure, I guess the real actual scuba diver,
Yeah.
just communicating between like 3 people just with hand signals,
Yeah,
and just going through a coral reef and like.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I'll jump out of a plane, but like, I don't know about scuba diving. Something about suffocating would just scare the shit out of me.
It's just that's your only supply. It's just that oxygen tank down there.
It freaks me out. But
How does that freak you out? How does not being up there, what,
well,
18, 20,000 feet up in the air? How high are y'all when y'all jump?
everyone usually jumps at 13,500 feet. Once you have if you're going on a tandem, which is where you're attached to somebody, they usually jump out at like 10,000 or so. Excuse me. But once you have your license and you're jumping with like more professional skydivers or more seasoned guys, you're jumping out like a little bit higher, get a little bit more free fall action going.
Now, what is it? You have to have more experience being the higher you go, or
basically, I mean, you can do like a hop and pop where that basically means you can practice jumping out at 5,000 feet, and when people do that, they're kind of just focusing on, their parachute piloting skills. They want to work more on like, their canopy work and stuff like that. But most people want to jump out at high altitudes because you have longer free fall time.
Yeah.
And free fall time when you're jumping out at 13,005 is about a minute before you have to pull your parachute. So everyone says like a minute's not a lot, but it really feels like a lot's going on within a minute because your adrenaline's kicking in so much that it kind of slows things down.
And then just the visual aspect of it just makes everything probably slows down even a little bit more.
It's bizarre because sometimes I've jumped out with friends and I'm like, damn, like this is taking forever. Like I'm looking at my altimeter and I'm like, I'm barely at like 8,000 feet and I'm like, and I usually pull at like 4,005. So 4,000 feet's still like really pretty high. And
then it takes like probably 5-10 minutes to get down after you pull the parachute?
It takes me about like 10 minutes because I have a pretty big parachute. I'm still starting out. So the more seasoned you are,
the smaller parachute you get.
Yeah, the smaller and the more faster it gets and it becomes that.
So once you get up to that level, do you plan on doing the squirrel suits?
The squirrel suits, the wingsuit?
Yeah, wingsuit.
So you actually have to hit about 200 skydives before you can hit the wingsuits up.
Is that your next goal?
I don't know. Like, it looks like fun because like once you put those on, you actually get to stay up there longer. So I think I knew a guy who was flying for about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes in the sky, just wingsuiting because all that surface area he took on, just kind of like let him glide through. It sounds awesome. Would I do it? Probably, but I mean, it wouldn't be like my main thing. I think my main thing is just I really like free flying a lot.
Just get all the jumps in as much as you can and then advance through the parachutes, the smaller parachutes.
Yeah, it's a pretty intense sport, flying with dudes that are super like advanced at flying in the sky. It becomes like, I think the last jump I did was with this guy named Mudbug.
Mudbug?
That was his name. That was his skydiver name.
What's your skydiver name?
I don't even know. Like, they haven't even given me one yet.
You don't have enough jumps in?
I don't have
38
enough
jumps isn't enough?
That's like a speck on the field. I'm still the new guy. But like I think we were flying at like 180 miles an hour, like on our heads. It was ridiculous.
Oh shit.
And I almost collided with another guy, but I didn't, which was awesome. But it's a very dangerous, safe-ish sport. I'll just say that. Most of the injuries in this sport are not from really free flying. They're usually from people coming in too fast with their small parachutes. And they usually call it swooping. So you'll notice like guys who are like turning really hard. So when you have a small parachute and you do a hard turn, when you turn sharp on a parachute and it's a small parachute, you dive. So basically they're cutting all their air.
Yeah.
And they're trying to swoop and come in like super fast basically. And people, when they're starting that out, it usually they usually hit the ground probably. So that's probably where all the bad stuff's coming from.
Is he seeking attention over there?
He wants someone to love him.
Well, he peed on me earlier.
Yeah.
Tried to jump the fence and I just grabbed him before he could get that final push over.
He has this Sarah McLachlan look on his face right now.
Don't let it fool you, man. That dog is a menace.
Oh my god.
He's my brother's dog, but he's got character for sure. but he's a
Jeez.
menace.
Would you ever go skydiving?
I want to, but I don't know. I like being on the ground. I only like flying just to fly to other places.
Yeah.
I don't know about jumping out of the plane. It's a little different.
I think most of the fear from people is just getting out of the door.
Yeah, I mean that's the only. I mean, I don't have a fear. I would do it. It's just, it's not my forte right now. I don't.
But you've gone scuba diving.
Yeah, scuba diving. Yeah, I mean it's just. I'm sure you would do it too.
Do you have your license in that?
No, it was just like a quick. Since I had like an instructor, trainer, scuba diver with
like a dive master kind of thing.
Yeah, so they just supervised us. Like they were holding on to us pretty much. Like
how far did you go? Like how low did you get?
I think we only went like 12, 13 meters. Not that deep because the reefs aren't that deep in over there in Australia.
Oh, it was in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I might go. I wouldn't mind probably going skydiving at New Zealand. Probably there's some beautiful views over there.
This is what I'm kind of like working on. I'm kind of working on getting like my B license. So there's different types of licenses you can get for skydiving. I'm sure it's like the same for scuba diving, probably.
Probably. I'm not too familiar with that.
Oh,
so I'm not looking to get my scuba license, but it'd be nice. Maybe in the future. It's just right now. I plan on putting my money and focus on other things because I don't need more distractions.
Yeah, I feel you. Well, I think most of the time, most skydivers are trying to get on their B license. So once you have your B license, you're allowed to go on skydives by the ocean or like any type of water skydiving. You can basically go do that with your B license. So you have to have 50 skydives at minimum, and you have to take like a water course in case you fall in the water or whatever. But I don't know. It's kind of like one of my big goals to try to get my B license and maybe go to like Hawaii and jump or somewhere off California.
How many different licenses are there?
I think it goes up to D license.
And that just according to how many jumps you've had?
Yeah, that experience. I think C license is where you can go skydiving at night, which is kind of fucked up. Like, I don't know why anyone would really do that.
Why not? You don't want to go skydiving at night?
I'm barely trying to learn how to like figure out how to like land my parachute, like downsizing a parachute and trying to like fly it and land it and all that stuff. I'm still working on that. Skydiving at night, it's not very safe for me right now.
So, but I don't know. I would find it unsafe always borrowing someone's rig instead of having your own rig, even though it's cheaper. But how do you know their rig is good? I know you probably inspect their rig before you use it.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Like, I got to make sure I know that person. So I've known this dude for a while, for about a year or so. He's a good guy. He's a good friend of mine. Before him, I was borrowing some buddies' rigs from iFly, and they wouldn't let me jump anything, I wasn't ready for, or, it would not fit me or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I knew exactly what I was jumping. I knew like what would happen and all this and that. But so there's two different things. There's rigs that are free fly friendly, which means, I can go skydiving and fly on my head and do all this crazy shit, all the tricks I want to do, and nothing's going to happen to the parachute like a premature opening. And then if I wanted to rent one from like, the drop zone, those are not free fly friendly, which means, if I decide to do anything other than belly fly, the
straps on it will...
the hacky that you pull, your pilot chute, it would prematurely like fly out possibly, just because it's not, the way it's designed is not meant to be doing free flying. Basically, it's meant to get students through their course.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not meant for that. So that's why I don't really want to rent it, which is another $25 each jump. So I'd have to pay like $50 a jump as opposed to like $25. So yeah.
When you get it, if you were to get a rig, would you get it brand new or would you buy it off of someone?
So the way it works in the skydive community is most people buy everything used.
It's a little bit cheaper that way. I've noticed that with windsurfing equipment, because even kite surfing equipment as well. It's just buying it all brand new. It's like several $1,000s, and versus someone selling like a 5-year-old kite. Yeah, it's only a couple hundred.
There's reasoning behind it. I think the reason why everyone buys everything used is because they calculate, after certain many jumps, you're going to want to downsize. And before you know it, you're going to get very bored of the parachute and the rig you're jumping, and you're going to want something smaller, a little bit more advanced. And there's no real sense in trying to buy something that you're going to grow out of in a year or two. So they kind of just say, like, keep borrowing or, buy used until you hit a parachute size that's going to last you for like the next 3-4 years or so. And some guys stay on like a certain size because they're happy where it is. I have no desire to like downsize majorly because, that's where a lot of
that's where things can go wrong.
Things can start getting wrong. I have a very forgiving parachute right now, so I'm all about just like the views and like having fun with it. I'm not trying to be very competitive with it right now, starting out.
Yeah, I saw that y'all actually have competitions that go on in iFly.
We do. I'm actually signing up for the one in Rosemont in Chicago. So I'll be going in November 15th and November 16th to the iFly in Rosemont.
Is that singles or teams?
So they have dynamic two-way, which is two people doing a set of lines that are written out already. They have some stuff that's like VFS, where it's kind of like, 4 people are trying to like see how many docks they can get within a certain time. And then they have freestyle, which is kind of like what I'm getting into right now. And I think I have more fun with freestyling and, coming up with tricks and seeing all the kinds of crazy things I can do in the tunnel. And they score you on how, how clean you are with it, or like how creative you are with certain maneuvers, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm signing up for the one in November, and then they have one in December in Houston. It's like the Houston H-Town Throwdown or something like that. So I'm trying to go out and compete in both those competitions. Hopefully I can get like some kind of gold or silver.
Is there prize money for placing?
Yeah, so I don't know what the money is for these two competitions, but I know there's a World Cup for indoor skydiving, and that's actually this month.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's in Bahrain. Don't ask me where that is.
It's on the other side of the world, man.
It's on the other side of the whole world. I know that much. But yeah, it's in Bahrain right now, and I actually have some buddies. My buddy Danny and Dusty, they're part of Team Crucible, and they're out of Austin iFly. And they actually, you had to go to a prerequisite, competition, which was, I think it was in Virginia Beach, and I don't know exactly what place they got, but they qualified for the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And every year there's a World Cup for.
And is it just like the football World Cup where people from different countries?
Yeah, that's
the same thing.
Same thing. So
I'm gonna let them outside.
Yeah, no problem.
You can keep talking.
It's basically like just like football or soccer, where people from all around the world, they go and try to compete. And I believe, I may be wrong, but I think I saw it where it was first prize for 2A dynamic. Don't quote me. I think it was like $20,000. It was around there. So 20,000 split between two dudes. It's not a bad.
Yeah, it's not a little paycheck.
It's not a little bad paycheck at all. And what's cool about it is if you're sponsored by iFly, I believe they send you out there on your ticket. Because you're representing iFly.
First class?
Yeah, I don't think it's first class, man. I think they probably got coach or something. I don't know. I'll sit in the back if I was sponsored. I don't care.
It's a free ride.
It's a free ride, man. Surprisingly, iFly does a lot for its people. So the way it works, I'm gonna get back to the competitions, but I'm just gonna go a little bit into.
Go for it. Shoot for it.
So when you start out at iFly, you're a level 1 instructor, and you can get up to a level 4 instructor, which usually takes about maybe 2 years or so. And then you can try to go the trainer path. So trainers are higher than instructors. So trainers make instructors. So there's level 1 through 4 instructor, and then once you reach that, you usually become like a T1, trainer 1, and it goes up to trainer 4. And T4 is the highest you can get in iFly. Now, when you hit a certain level in iFly, usually I believe it's like a T2, trainer 2, they you can apply or ask to go on a cruise ship. So what they do is they pick certain people throughout the year to go on cruises, on the Royal Caribbean cruises, and you're out there for a month. And
Doing what? Just the same thing? Just teaching people?
you're
Or?
teaching instructors on the cruise ships how to be better instructors and help them out with their flying skills.
So these cruise ships also have the giant fan and everything, pressurized tube and all that?
Yeah, so there's some ships on Royal Caribbean. They're all Royal Caribbean where there's wind tunnels on some of these. I think there's like 4 or 5.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so basically we'd be going out there teaching the guys out there that are like, you know, recreational guys, because they manage the rock climbing, basically, you know, like the skateboarding and rock climbing, and they have like the wind tunnel, so they kind of rotate, I guess.
Yeah.
But we kind of go out there as ambassadors, you know, like representing iFly, and we take people in, first timers, and so basically it's a free ride. So they fly you out to these countries. You can basically get on like the Caribbean, there's like a China one, there's an Australian one. Some of these cruises, there's a European one somewhere around there. I don't know how many there are and where they really go, but I know there's an Australian one for sure, where you can get on that cruise and you work it for a month, and I believe you make $2,000 working that month.
Have you done it or
I
not?
have not. So I'm a level 3 right now, and I'm about to get my level 4 hopefully pretty soon. And then I think they accept T1s, maybe T2s to go out on these cruises. It's kind of like who you really know.
Yeah.
But it'd be a sweet ride to go on. That's one thing that they kind of do, transferring. If you want to go transfer to another iFly, iFly is not just US. You can go work in Singapore if you want, Paris.
Nice.
You can transfer, but that's kind of like you pay on your own to get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of cool shit about iFly. A lot of people don't know. You get health and dental, which is nice.
Are you promoting iFly right now?
Yeah, I'm promoting. Hopefully they'll sponsor me one day.
One day.
But yeah, it's pretty cool. Like a couple of my buddies are kind of going to the World Cup right now for indoor skydiving and representing like Austin, which is pretty sweet. But yeah, I mean, you got to start somewhere on these competitions, and I think I'm gonna start November probably.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And to get back to that World Cup, like they do the line segments.
So I'm not exactly certain on how it really rolls out, because I'm still like trying to figure out there's like a list of dynamic lines to learn. It's a list of maneuvers you got to do within a certain time, and it kind of goes off, you know, speed, like who's the fastest at doing these lines. And I think
also performing them
like
perfect
correctly.
yeah.
So there's like a ring in the middle of the tunnel, and you can't break the ring, or else, you know, you get shaved off 5 seconds, I believe. So it's all within time basis and accuracy. So like time and accuracy, and it's really weird because people are like saying there's actually competitions for this, and they're actually thinking about putting in the Olympics in 2020.
No shit.
Yeah, 2020.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's gonna be like, it's really weird because wind tunnels have actually been around since like the 90s, but they haven't been really.
Does it put like a stress on you? Like, does it like if you're running, like is that same type of physical stress? Like does it wear you out like that?
It does wear me out, but like most people usually go in there for like 2 minutes, but for me to get fatigued, I usually fly about like 15 minutes and I'll be exhausted.
15 minutes?
Yeah, well, because
shit, man.
Pressurized wind is like so hard.
Yeah.
It's intense once you're in there for that long, but there's a lot of benefits for like flying in there though. I mean, there's a lot of records you can try to smash out just practicing in the tunnel. Like I know they tried doing a 200-way head down. I don't know exactly where it was. I think it was in Chicago probably, but you could practice in the tunnel flying on your head for 2 minutes straight and see if you're ready enough to go and hit some of these records maybe.
Well, what are some of the records, you know, offhand or no?
Just like indoor skydiving, there's outdoor skydiving competitions as well. The same thing, like VFS, trying to see how many, you know, docks you can get with people. Sometimes they have like head up competitions where you try linking up with other people and trying to like make formation skydiving. That's kind of like a huge one right there, formation skydiving. But I don't know. You have to be selected basically, and you have to go to like camps where they kind of like eliminate like who's not strong enough to go and do these jumps or whatever.
Kind of like marathons where you have to pretty much qualify for the big races in order to
basically. Yeah, sorry.
Nah, that's all good. It's cheap equipment, man.
But basically, yeah, they kind of go out there and see if you're qualified or not to go do these things. It's pretty sweet.
So, what were you doing before iFly?
Shit, this is the funny part. So I was actually a server at Grimaldi's serving pizza. So
Overpriced pizza.
Yeah, overpriced pizza. I think it was pretty good, but
no, it's good, but it's overpriced.
I worked in like food and bev industry almost all my life. And it's funny because like I'll have like kids ask me if I went to college to be an instructor. And I'll be like, yeah, man, like, you know, I got my WIN certification at Vista or something. But like people ask me like, you know, did I have to go to college for this, or did I have to get a degree, or they just want to know like how did I even end up here? Like how does one become like an indoor skydiver?
Just go out and do it.
There's a process. So like when I got hired, and this is for every instructor, so it's kind of like I would want to say it's kind of like a fraternity. Big fraternity wise, like there's a big indoctrination to try being an instructor. You have to go through a 4-5 week course called FITP, and it's called Flight Intensive Training Program basically. So it's 4 weeks of you learning how to fly yourself on your belly. You have to learn how to walk in there, which is pretty hard when you're starting out, because I mean it's hard to walk in there with so much wind and try to like manage to like control someone else's body. So you'll go in there with like trainers, and they'll try to throw you spots, and you have to learn how to like, you know, spot every spot that they give you, which it gets pretty grueling after a while. You get really exhausted. There's been times where I flat out wanted to throw up because like it was just so intense and long that I was out of shape. So I mean,
you're talking about in the tunnel, right?
Yeah, in the tunnel.
All this is happening in the tunnel.
Yeah, man. Like if you go through like a FITP course for 4 or 5 weeks, like a real FITP course, like you'll get exhausted and you'll want to like throw up and like hate your life for the day.
That's why you start hitting the gym again.
Oh man, dude, it's easier when you work out. So people think that working there, it's like all you do is fly all day, and I'm like, no, man. You gotta think we're flying 300-pound people. We can be thrown into the glass. When we're flying on our own, I've hit the glass multiple times.
What is the maximum weight that thing can lift?
300, but they say 300, but I mean I've probably flown like 300 plus people, like that are pretty heavy.
That's nuts, and it still just throws them around in there.
They throw me around in there sometimes. It's crazy because like you don't want to like get in their air, or else you kind of like start burbling them, and you kind of take away all their clean air. So if it's like a really big dude, I kind of just give them space and let them fly on their own. It's less hassle for me, really. But sometimes I get thrown around in there. I've been kicked in the head. I've been kicked in the nuts. I've been slapped. I've been scratched. I've literally been abused in that tunnel before, but it's part of the job.
You're used to abuse. You were a lifeguard.
Yeah. Never going back to that.
What? You didn't have fun doing that?
Not at all. Way too much time to think about things.
That's what happens when you sit on a chair and just bake all day in the sun.
Yeah, no joke.
Gives you a whole bunch of reflection.
But I like where I'm at right now. I'm probably in the most physical shape I've ever been in my entire life. I'm working 2 jobs, saving money. Got my own place now. It's nice. I like everything the way it's going.
Good. And you just foresee to keep on skydiving as long as you can, or?
Yeah, like I mean, it's kind of cheesy, but like as like a long-term goal, I kind of really wanted to get a part of like, you know, the Red Bull Air Force team. Those guys are all super gnarly, and they've got like thousands of jumps, and they do the craziest shit. Like,
are those the guys that had the jetpacks?
Nah.
Or is that a different type of?
That's probably like another dude who's just crazy, who just like decided to get a jetpack and go skydiving. But nah, these guys, they're like out there with, you know, doing crazy jumps and like, you know, events and stuff like that, and they get paid well, I'm sure, by Red Bull, and they're just, I don't know, that sounds like something I would want to do. Like, and it's weird because I was talking to my buddy the other day, and I was like, you know, what classifies you as a professional? And he apparently told me like what I do is I'm basically a professional indoor skydiver because I'm getting paid to do it, and I don't believe that, but I guess defines on what you define.
Well, what, you want a piece of paper? Or it comes down to what do you call professional? I mean, what would you call professional?
I don't know, getting flown out to places and doing things, I guess, but
I would say that's a sponsored professional.
yeah.
That's different because they have their sponsors, and their sponsors want to put that showcase out because they have a very good talent. So that's why they're willing to sponsor them and send them out because they're getting to exposure of their of their brand.
Yeah, so I mean that's what comes to mind when I think about like professional.
Okay, so that's your idea of a professional. You is a sponsored and number of years and jumps underneath your belt makes you a professional.
That's what that's what I would think, But I guess professional can also mean getting paid to do a service. So I mean, I don't know. If you're getting paid to fly people all day, then I guess so.
What would you say is the toughest thing about either iFly or skydiving?
Toughest part for sure in indoor skydiving is safety with people, making sure nobody gets hurt. Just because you don't want that. I've heard too many stories about things going wrong, which I probably can't say on here, but
yeah, don't.
But just safety is a huge part. It's a huge role in what I do, making sure everyone goes in there and has a good time and leaves, happy. And I like it because it's there for people that are maybe too afraid to do the real thing, and it's about as close as you're gonna get to like jumping out of a plane without jumping out of a plane. And then I would think with indoor skydiving, the hardest part about that is knowing when to know your limits, knowing when to know your limits and how far you can push that and be safe about it and still call it a day. It's not about how badass you can be. It's like, how awesome are you enough to like keep doing this for a longevity, like long time period.
So have you refused to go on jumps when people went on jumps when the weather was looking kind of shady?
Absolutely. Because it's, if you want to go do that, that's your life. That's your thing. That's your call, your judgment. I don't know how much experience they have compared to mine, So I think, knowing about weather, knowing when you're like, hey, that's a little shady. I'm not, there's always another day.
Do you think that's part of the mentality though? Because, or do you get the sense that there's a lot of, I don't want to say crazy attitude, but just a sense of no fear, kind of.
So there is a sense of no fear for a lot of people in actual skydiving. From the people I've met, the mentality that a lot of the people I met is very free feel. Some of it might come off as very hippie, very free lifestyle kind of thing. But at the same time, even the most experienced people that I've seen with thousands of skydives on a perfect day where I'm like, the sun's out, like, why aren't you jumping? And some of these guys would be like, nah, man, like this wind's too harsh for what I'm flying right now. So I'm just going to see if it's going to die down. And if not, I'll come tomorrow. So even like the most experienced dudes are like, they want to keep doing it. They don't want to like,
yeah, they don't want to end their life. They don't want to make the mistake of having too much fun. Exactly.
So, I mean, the more reckless you are, the higher risk you're really taking on yourself. So you can still skydiving's still risky, but it's actually fairly safe.
What are some of the scary parts that you experience?
Shit. Oh, man. Most memorable one. I'll never probably forget this one, but this was before I was working at iFly. I didn't really know about flying or anything like that, but I was starting out. Usually start out with two very experienced skydivers who were holding on to. This must have been my 5th or 6th jump, and we jumped out of the plane together, but not in sync. I kind of just went at the wrong time. Basically, it was kind of like a 1-2 jump, and we were all kind of waiting for 3, so it's probably my fault.
I thought you were gonna say, "All right, get ready to jump." 1. Oh shit, he just jumped.
Yeah,
I can see you doing that.
Yeah, it was because it's nerve-wracking when you're at the door,
Yeah.
You're like looking down, you don't know shit about skydiving, you don't know how to fly your body, it's scary. So I jumped out. We all left janky, and at that point, I was kind of spinning out of control. My body was kind of just probably in a really bad position, and I actually lost one of my instructors. So he flew away. I don't know where he went. And there was a guy on my left who was still hanging on to me, and we were spinning out of control, and he had to pull. It's funny because if my friend Ethan's listening to this, he's probably gonna call me a fucking liar. Am I allowed to cuss on here? Or?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, he's probably gonna call me a fucking liar just because like I said I pulled my own parachute, but I really didn't. But like I was spinning out of control, and my instructor to my right, he actually pulled my parachute for me because he was like, "Nah, this isn't gonna be ending well." So he pulled it, parachute opened, that instructor flew away, and then while I was spinning out of control, my parachute opened up with a bunch of line twists. So I'm looking up to a bunch of line twists. This is my 6th skydive ever. I'm fucking new as shit. Like I'm looking up, terrified at all these line twists all the way to the top. And when you start out, you have a really big parachute. So even if you did have a bunch of line twists, it's not going to mean anything. You're still going to be fine. It's still going to fly straight. So they tell you in class, if you have line twists, it's not a really big deal unless you have a small parachute. So you basically grab both your lines and you kind of just kick out of it like a little swing. So I'm kicking out of it, and it took me about, I don't know, like 15, 30 seconds or so to get out of it. And then after that, it was the most scariest thing I've ever encountered, and it was just terrifying because I was spinning out of control, and I have line twist in my parachute, and I think I took off like maybe 2 months of just not even wanting to go back.
That scared you a little bit?
It scared the shit out of me. But you know what? The funny thing is that like me going back and trying to face that fear, knowing like, nah, like I got to go do it one more time. And make sure that doesn't happen, or else I'm going to be scared, terrified, and I'm never going to do skydiving ever again. And I went back, and sure enough, like I passed that test, and I went on to the next category. And then once I started working at iFly, I kind of just zoomed through the rest of that course.
Kind of gives you a more layer of confidence, doesn't it?
Yeah,
iFly.
I was never scared after that point.
Because you started learning how to use your body a lot better in the wind.
Exactly.
When you're in a free fall.
I had a overwhelming confidence just jumping out, just because it's still scary. It still gives me butterflies whenever I open the door and you're looking down earth and it's just like, holy shit, I'm so high up right now. But it's part of the rush.
So do you believe the earth is flat since you've seen it from way up there?
So what's funny is that like I'm up there and I'm looking at it, and I have one friend who thinks the world's flat, and he can give you A, B, C, and D as to how it's flat.
And then we're on the back of a giant tortoise.
We're on the, I don't know, man. There's a barrier apparently, and there's guards.
Giant ice wall.
And if you will fall off, I guess. I don't know. I think it's obviously round. I've seen it from 13,000 feet, and it looks pretty fucking round. But
it's crazy how so many people believe that the earth is flat, even though you can see it. You can go to the top of a building and see the curvature of the surface, or even the top of clouds on the horizon.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The highest anyone's ever jumped off was this one dude who's part of the Red Bull Air Force team, and he jumped out of like some kind of stratosphere or some shit like that. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I watched that. Yeah,
that was ridiculous.
And he like passed out too, didn't he?
He did, which is because he was
going faster than the speed of sound, right?
He was going so fast he couldn't move his body because like he was just going too fast, and he was just spinning out of control. It was crazy. So he like passed out, and then he gained consciousness again. But they're even saying that footage was fake because like they were like, well, yeah, but like you can see that they can edit like GoPro footage, and I'm like, dude, like, come on.
So what about the no parachute guy?
I was that the one where like he jumped out of the air balloon? Or are you talking about the guy that just jumped out of the plane without a parachute?
Yeah, jumped out. He had like a team.
Was it like a huge net?
Yeah.
There was like, I think that was a really old dude.
What gives them like the confidence just to do that? Like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking jump out of this plane without no parachute and land on a giant net.
You know what's funny is that like I'm probably that crazy asshole who would probably try that.
Yeah? Is that your ultimate goal? Once you get all your years of experience down, let's say you're 65 years old, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna jump without a parachute. I'm gonna land on that net that may look big when you're up close to it, but I'm pretty sure from the sky
It looks like a little.
it's a little
square.
tiny, like that.
Yeah, basically. No, I don't know. That guy has like marbles missing, man, or he's got some big cojones. But I think the extent of my, you know, I wouldn't say career, but like I think the extent of me going down this path would probably wanting to maybe try a base jump one day and jump off shit like an antenna or like something like that. But so the way I think it goes is like, you know, skydiving.
What about cave diving?
Yeah, you'll never catch me doing that.
Why not?
Fuck that. That's just too scary. Spelunking. Batman.
Is that what it's called? Spelunking, or
That's if you're watching Batman, that's what it was called. Spelunking, man. No, I think the way it goes is like skydiving is kind of like one of the safest, and then like it goes down to like maybe wingsuits, probably like pretty dangerous, like higher risk, and then I think base jumping is the most like risky thing you could probably be doing, because like
you're jumping into a cavern.
Well, I mean, people are jumping off at like 400 feet, 800 feet, like less than 1,000. And that's like, it's crazy because at that point you don't really have like two parachutes. It's kind of like a one system thing. Like it opens up super fast.
And if it fails,
you're fucked. Yeah. So, I mean, like it's terrifying. I've never done it. I know a buddy of mine, Diego, he does crazy shit like that. I don't know. He jumps off like 400 feet, which is like,
that's nothing.
If you think about it, the San Antonio Tower of the Americas, that's actually 800 feet. So he jumped half of that with like a parachute. Like, no.
It's nuts.
Would never do that.
No, not yet.
What's the craziest thing you've ever done? Like adventure style, like what's like zip lining or some shit, or like I don't know.
I don't know, man. It's not really anything that extreme. I mean, scuba diving, but that's not horrible.
You said it was like 30 feet, or
it's like 12 meters. That's probably about what, a meter. It's about 3 feet in a meter, so 12 meters times is about 34 feet.
You went 30 feet below water?
Yeah.
yeah.
What are you talking about? We used to go diving all the way to the bottom at Palo Alto.
No. That pool goes 30 feet down?
No, it goes 18. It goes 18, 20 feet down.
In Palo Alto?
Mm-hmm. Northside's pool as well over there off of 1604. That goes down 20 feet.
It goes down 20 feet?
Mm-hmm. Dude, I had, when I was a lifeguard there, the requirement was to grab a dummy that fills up with water all the way to the bottom, get it, retrieve it, bring it all the way to the surface. You got to bring it pretty much 3/4 of the way without your guard tube, man, because the strap doesn't even go that far.
I would not do that.
It was fucking. I almost drowned myself. It was ridiculous.
So wait, you went down 20 feet?
Yeah, to retrieve a mannequin filled with water. It was supposed to imitate a real person.
I don't know about that. I was surprised I even made lifeguard this last go around from like 3 years ago. And I'm not the best swimmer, but like it's the best cardio you could probably get.
Oh yeah,
you're working out everything.
Well, and here's another thing with that. Before you had to go retrieve that mannequin, you had to swim 200 meters of freestyle. No, 100 meters of freestyle, 100 meters of breaststroke, and then 100 meters of whatever you want. So you essentially had to swim 300 meters. And before that, you had to run a mile in under, I think, 8 minutes.
Yeah, well, you trying to train for like fucking...
Dude, that was Northside.
You're trying to train for like Space Force or some shit.
Yeah, don't doubt Space Force. I would join that.
That'd be kind of cool if we got qualified for Space Force.
What is up with that? Is that really happening? Or
I don't know. If it does, I definitely want to be a part of Space Force and have like a little insignia or something.
SpaceX Force.
SpaceX Force. You know, what's so funny too is just because like some of these movies that have like skydiving scenes, like Deadpool 2. Have you seen it?
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking hilarious. Just because like it's like the worst case scenario of like, you know, landing in like. And they tell you, like, if you land in, like, in a tree, like, or, like, the worst case scenario is that you land on, like, electric lines or some shit like that. And if you do, you're not supposed to move. And if anyone wants to, like, get you down, you're supposed to, like, say, fuck off, basically, until, like, you know.
They shut off the power.
And I don't know anybody who's done that, but I know some people who've like, they were learning how to skydive and they fell in pools or like a pasture full of goats and shit. I don't know. I have friends that are like, there's two drop zones that people usually go to, and I've heard some stuff. I don't know if it's true or not, but it sounds pretty true.
What is it?
Well, like planes going down, and I've had friends in them. So the rule is when you're a skydiver, you have to. Everybody has to do this. It's a regulation. So you have to wear a seatbelt, and you have to put it through your leg strap, and you have to strap yourself in until you hit 1,500 feet. And once you hit 1,500 feet, then you're allowed to unbuckle yourself. And then they open up the door, and if, something goes wrong, if you're by the door, you're not supposed to really jump out if there's a problem with the plane, because it fucks up the balance of what's going on. But if you're under 1,500 feet and the plane decides to go down, you have to go down with it, basically.
What?
Oh, yeah. But it goes down to like...
Is that just not enough time for the parachute to release and catch air? Catch the air, I guess?
It's definitely high enough, but it's like one of those gray areas in the sport where like it's kind of like taboo. Like they don't want you jumping out of this plane after like 15, like under 15, just because like it just becomes a mess. But like at the same time, like you better hope like you have a really good pilot to like land you safe somewhere. I don't know. I've never had anything like that happen, but we actually the drop zone I've been going to, Skydive San Marcos, just got bought out by this company called Spaceland.
Spaceland?
Yeah, it's called Spaceland.
They're gonna start shooting rockets off?
Shit, I don't know. But they're located in Houston, and it's one of the biggest drop zones in the U.S. And they have like Spaceland Dallas, Houston, and I don't know which other ones they got, but they bought out the one in San Marcos. So we're about to get some cool shit, like a bunch of new airplanes, 2 landing areas, and probably boogies. Have you heard of like a skydive boogie? So basically, a boogie is basically where a bunch of skydivers get together and they go to basically party, and they gather, like it's a big, huge gathering, and they jump out of planes together. And like all people from all around will come to these boogies to go.
And then they do formations and everything in the sky.
And then they just party fucking balls like all night. And then they jump in the morning.
Oh, shit.
I've never been to one, but I really want to go to one.
It's just a skydiver
party, yeah.
Skydiver party?
Yeah, it's like a festival for skydivers, basically.
Sounds super crazy. Sounds like nothing but craziness would go on there.
Yeah, they do a bunch of stuff. Like there's a thing called swoop and chug.
The hell, swoop and chug? So
basically, for the more experienced dudes, they'll come swooping in to like the landing area, and then they have to have accuracy into where they're kind of going towards somebody, and that person's holding a beer, and it's usually like,
and they just
you swoop in, you grab it, and you chug it while you land. So it's like a swoop and chug.
Oh shit, that's fucking nuts, man. and these guys pull it off?
Oh yeah.
Oh shit.
There's some dudes out there that like will swoop and like they'll grab a beer and then they land and they chug it.
It's fucking nuts.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy shit that happens.
What about that one experience you were telling me before the podcast?
Which one was that?
The heat wave? Not the heat, the hot air rising.
Oh, yeah.
And it collapsed your chute.
Thermals, man. So there's these things called thermals. Mother Nature fucks with you, basically. So at the drop zone I usually go jump at, there's like a corn field area, I guess, and it's like super hot. So like a lot of that, dry area will cause like a, like dead air, almost like a thermal in the sky. And I was around maybe like, I want to say maybe like 1,500 feet or so, maybe like 1,000 feet around there. It was pretty low. I was pretty low.
Damn.
And everything was fine. My parachute was working fine. Everything was fucking fine. And out of nowhere, my left wing on my canopy kind of just fucking deflated on me. And then it inflated again within a 2-second. It was like a big, like it like janked me really hard. And it scared the shit out of me because I had no idea what that was. They were like, "No, man, that was a thermal. That was your first thermal." Like,
it happens.
It happens.
Don't worry about it. You're alive.
Yeah, and it's so weird because like when you're learning how to like pilot like a canopy for the first time, it's like driving a car. So like you have an altimeter on your wrist and it tells you where you're at all times. So you should be somewhere at 1,000. You should be somewhere at 500. and then your final should be 250 feet.
Mm.
So when you're on 250 feet, that's kind of like your straight path, and you can't make any corrections, basically, like minor corrections. But if you do a turn too low, your parachute's going to start diving, and then you might, smack Earth.
Smack into the ground pretty hard.
Yeah, Earth is very unforgiving.
What would you say is some of the advice that you wish you knew when you first started that you know now?
Some of the stuff I could tell myself or tell anyone who's starting out.
Anyone. Or your younger self, if you could.
Patience is key. Everybody who's trying to get their A license, it takes time. You gotta roll with the punches. You gotta roll with like holding out, like weather holds. I would say stick out the weather holds. If you're there for 3-4 hours, stay there. If you can get in one jump, do it. There's days where I would literally go there and not even jump at all, and then I would drive back to San Antonio and go to work, all just because I wanted to know if I was,
able to jump.
And like I would download weather apps, and I would wake up in the morning and see if like the weather was good. I would call ahead and see what they said, and they would say, we're not God. It might clear up, it might not. So, patience is key. I would say hit the tunnel, learn how to fly your body so you don't have problems like I did flying. I mean, it is expensive, but there's coaching, which is a little bit cheaper. Hanging out with a lot of experienced people, you learn a lot from them. They have a lot of experience. And if you're like a tunnel guy like me, you're never done learning just because you can fly your body. There's so many things you could learn with canopy work and with like flying. There's a lot of shit you can learn. Like I'm still learning. You're never done learning, really. And it's like a big learning curve for this kind of sport because it's pretty dangerous and it's high risk. And I think they said something like there's less than like maybe less than 3,000, 5,000 skydivers in Texas just alone or something like that.
Really? Is that low?
Yeah, I mean in the US, I would have to like look it up, but I'm sure there's like, I can't even calculate, but I can say it's a very small percentage of people that skydive in the US.
Oh, it's some crazy shit, man. It's not a lot of people are that crazy to jump out of a plane all the time.
Yeah.
I know you get the confidence and it kind of just becomes like a numb feeling after a while, but you still, it's the fun. Excitement of falling.
You get addicted, yeah. Once you get addicted to that like jumping out of the plane part, it's just fucking, you want to like do it all the time. It's like dopamine or whatever you call it. Just endorphins are fucking exploding.
Dude, do scuba diving. See if you freak out or not.
I think, and what's cool is like once I got my A license, I kind of was like looking at that. I was like, what other kind of licenses could I get? Maybe check out scuba diving, maybe getting a motorcycle license or getting as many licenses as I can. Just go around and do things.
Yeah, I'm surprised you don't have a motorcycle, man.
I don't know. There's too many crazy drivers in San Antonio.
Yeah, you driving? Well, yeah, I-35 is pretty crazy. It's pretty crowded. Isn't it weird how when you get to the I-35 and 1604 area, Shirts and Selma, it takes literally like 20-25 minutes just to get through that section of the highway on a busy, not even on a busy, on a semi-busy like part of the day.
Dude, 3 o'clock is horrible, and then I think like 6 o'clock is shitty too. Because you got like UTSA kids, and then in the morning. So I think it's like the shit times are like 8 a.m., 9 a.m. around there, 8 a.m. or so, 3 o'clock, and then like 6 o'clock. You hit all that rush hour and shit. And it sucks too because, whenever I do want to go jumping and stuff like that, I have to hit Austin Highway. So I have to like hang out on like 1604's traffic, and then I have to hang out on Austin Highway's traffic. It's a process.
It's a hassle, man.
I hate it.
So what time do you usually go out there and try to fly when you do?
So the way it goes is if you want to, it's kind of like the early bird gets the worm kind of thing. So if you want to get like the most beautiful weather to do it, you got to wake up at like 6 or not 6. I would say 7 o'clock. Like wake up at 7. The drop zone probably opens at 8:39. But like you wake up at 7 in San Antonio, and then from there you kind of just make your way out there and get everything going, and then probably make your first jump at like 9 a.m. And like having first load at 9 a.m., like the weather's so calm. There's no wind. There's clouds are still pretty high, probably. We've been having some shitty weather lately. The past like 3 weeks.
It's been horrible.
I mean,
just
we
been
need the
great.
rain.
Yeah, I'm not complaining, but yeah, it's just
Sucks.
it's been great. And my job, I'm outside
All the
pretty much
time,
all the
huh?
time, and I'm just like, can't really do too much when everything's all soaking wet.
Get all muddy and shit.
Well, that's the bad part is that when I go on landowners' properties, it's just, do I tear up their land or do I just come back another day? Sometimes I have to, and I put in that high 4-wheel drive and I just drive right through, and yeah, I make a little fun out of it, but I try my best not to tear it up.
Yeah.
But sometimes it just happens.
Yeah. That's nuts, man. But yeah, man, would you ever think about going to iFly? I feel like I should fly you now. Like I gotta like take you flying. Or something.
Yeah, definitely. I'll come by. I'll give it a shot. How much is it?
I could probably do it under like a coaching thing, or like maybe like a friend discount. So we'll figure that out. Maybe I could fly you and Josh before he leaves.
Oh yeah, that crazy boy.
Yeah.
But we got anything else you want to share about skydiving?
No, man. I highly recommend to people, who want to go out there and try something new. I feel like if you can skydive, you can probably do anything. Test your limits, but know your limits. Never be afraid to do something. You only get like one life, so might as well just make it awesome and do.
And it seems like the experienced skydivers, they value that life.
Oh, you got to take everything.
Because you say even on a perfect day, they're like, no, my equipment won't handle this wind, so I'm gonna stay on the ground today.
Yeah, live to do it again another day. But yeah, man, I would really say just go out there, do whatever you want to do, and have fun with it.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on the podcast. Thanks for everyone joining in. So take it easy. Be nice to one another out there. Bye.